apartment on Lakeshore. I commute daily into the heart of the city, inching my way down the streets and through tunnels like intestines until, sweating, I arrive in my office, a piece of shit in the golden. It is only after 9 grueling hours of paperwork as somebody's office bitch that I am lucky enough to escape. And then I drive. Most of the time, I just sit in silence and chew on the day. It's always tough and always gritty. Eventually, I start studying the people in the cars around me. I quickly discovered that the assholes I work with turn into dicks when we drive. I spend my day with all manner of genitalia, and somehow, I still end up miraculously unsatisfied. That's why I find it easier to just borrow other people's lives. It's one of the best ways I know to get by. By the time I'm on the road, it is dark enough outside that a normal window becomes like mirrored glass, a one-way barrier, but less incriminating. The insides of houses, lofts, and apartments are brilliantly illuminated, vibrant tableaus framed by the windows and presented for me to enjoy as I lurch along. It's like window shopping for moments. My favorite is an apartment on Lakeshore next to the ramp, right at the neck of the bottle that is the Gardner Expressway, a bleak landmark when I consider where it places me on my drive home. It is high up, seen only from the highway, beautifully full of clutter and the joyful mess of living. It is an artist's loft, and it changed my life. It was 6:48 p.m. on January 3rd of last year, around about the time the city began to shake off the millennium glitter. It was freezing cold despite the heat cranked in my shuddering car, and I was sucking on my cigarette like it could warm me from within. It was my 35th birthday, and I was oozing through the steady crush of evening traffic, heading home to implode on my futon. The certainty of the apartment by the road comforted me, and I glanced over the dash with my usual head tilt. The walls in the room furthest to the right were unnaturally bare. It was the first time I had seen them wanting for chaos, and I was jarred by how stark they appeared. It was also the first time that I had ever seen anyone in the apartment. She was shocking in her nakedness. She moved like a wave, slowly, with languorous rhythm that moved the momentum of her rolling body. Her belly hung, mimicking the swaying orbs of her breasts as they gently brushed the open air. The night was a sleepy one, and I drove past slowly, straining my eyes to focus on the window, past city lights that burned like the end of my cigarette. I was transfixed, peaceful knowing that she was mine to enjoy. The next time I saw her was through a curtain of gauzy rain, her body draped languidly over a settee. Her skin matched the pearly paint on the walls, and I wondered briefly if she had stood naked in front of the swatches in the store, still and serene with relaxed eyes and tilted head. That's how she looked when I saw her, and I swear she lit up as I passed. The room was a gallery, she the art, and I the only patron. Each night she was different. I imagined that she primed herself for my passing by moisturizing her skin and carefully arranging herself on her perch, one I was accustomed to seeing beneath her overflowing body. Some nights, like the first, she was naked. Others, elegantly garbed or wrapped in a simple quilt. She was always smiling. She was sensual in her presentation of what could be. I hated the nights when I was kept late, fearing I might miss my window of opportunity. But she was always there. On the 4th anniversary of that first night, I stared up at her apartment from the confines of a jam, waiting. She wasn't there. On a rare, quick day, I would have assumed that I had missed her. But tonight, the time to gaze, I was forced to take note of every detail. The deeply painted walls that would have made her pale figure stand out, or the ornate blinking shade that covered the bulb, and her absence. For 2 more nights I saw nothing, and on 3rd, a painted sign placed on the ledge. 7:30 p.m. Tuesday, 54 Church Street. Of course I went. It felt like a date should feel. Terrifying. I took an unfamiliar route into a nicer part of town, where families sat behind their windows, wincing at my muffler's guttural coughs. I was paranoid about dropping ash on my sweater, and took care to hold my cigarette out the window like a kid smoking in his bedroom. She would be sensational, and smudges would not do. I didn't even know I owned anything as nice as this sweater, but closet bowels are mysterious places, and mine came through with the remains of a gentleman. When a city digests you daily, you tend to lose that overachieving sheen. I pull up outside the church and find myself craning my neck to find a decent parking space in the vast lot outside of St. James Cathedral. I'm puzzled. Church is on Sunday, right? Maybe God had to reschedule. The expanse of the parking lot seems endless once I park, and I almost want to run. Almost. I wonder why she chose a church. I wonder what her voice sounds like. Good evening, sir. This way, please. I am ushered up the steps and hope to catch a glimpse of her before I am swept inside. I can smell burned coffee and egg salad, probably with the crust cut off, and everything is carpeted the color of salmon. So, a tidy middle-aged man nudges my arm. How did you know our girl? There's a casket at the end of the aisle, and suddenly I wish I were in it. But I'm not, and she is, and I don't want anyone else to see her there. I look around, trying desperately to remember if smoking is allowed in churches. My frantic eyes land on the canvases that line the wall behind her. She's an artist. Before I can make it to the paintings, the man puts a hand on my arm. It's all right, friend. I understand. I was her 3 o'clock. He motions to his name tag, on which is written only the time. An elderly gentleman sits next to the coffee urn, nursing a donut. His name tag reads 5:15 p.m. On the balding Italian, 7:45. The spindly blonde near the door, cradling her own arms, is sporting 9:30, and the Reverend bent towards her is a little later. They murmur quietly, surveying the stacks of name tags and an assortment of drying markers in a jar on a card table next to them. I brace myself against the table and feel it wince in my weight. No, that's not fair. You can't collapse. I need you. I've never believed in God, so I can't start praying, but I feel stifled by my own insignificant body. I can't do anything except choose a marker, gray, and focus intently on twisting the lid off. My clammy hands slip and I'm forced to use my teeth. And then I write mine, 6:45 p.m. There's something crushingly definitive about this action, like somehow I've buried her by snapping the lid back on. I wander woolly-headed to the rows of canvases and stare at them blindly. She has chosen an unlikely subject. The canvases are covered with sprawling images of gridlocked cars, brilliantly resonating in loud turquoises, soft yellows, and a blur of overlapping beige and rust-colored blobs. This isn't what rush hour looks like. Rush hour is gray. She was watching us, too. She was watching me. This thought dawns on me as something catches my eye, a small, insignificant blue smudge at the bottom of the largest canvas. That's my car. Just below it, a reddish brush stroke slips off the edge of the canvas, that station wagon with the leering toddlers. To the immediate left, a suggestive swipe of steely gray, the transport that threatened to run me into the gravel. There is no distinguishable license plate on the blue smudge, or in any of the other countless smudges around it. Nothing to suggest my 1992 Audi is in any way different from the hundreds of others that drive the gardener every day. But it could be. She could have seen me, last week or last month, or even that very first night. I could have been seen.